Hello, I'm Linda, and this is No Frills ASMR. I was at AAA the other day, and I saw they had these brochures. They're called O-Ranger, about different parks. And then my son called, and he's going to go to Yellowstone this summer, and was asking what places we'd stayed at when we were there. So I thought we could take a quick look through the brochure about Yellowstone and maybe get the map out and just see if I can recall. It's been a lot of years since I was there, but where I stayed and stuff, so I can tell them. I don't know, I just thought a fun little trip talking about Yellowstone might be fun. So these are the ones I got. Mount Rainier. I want to go to the Cascades, actually. That's on my list. The Black Hills, the Badlands, and Mount Rushmore. Great Smoky Mountains, Glacier. Yellowstone, Yosemite, Utah National Park, South Florida, Grand Canyon, Acadia, and then beaches, because who doesn't want beaches? So those were just kind of interesting. Yeah, all right, so let's see what we have here. Yellowstone National Park, and they have a bull elk on the cover. These things, when you're at the park, the elk, a lot of times, especially on the northern part of the park, they're all over the place. And you're supposed to stay far away from them, and you should, but sometimes it's practically impossible because they're all in the parking lots and all over. But yeah, there's a YouTube, no, not YouTube, well, maybe YouTube, but I think it's on Instagram, maybe, which I haven't been on in ages, but I used to go on there, and there was a page called Tourons of Yellowstone, like morons and tourists combined. And they'd show people, trying to get too close to take photos, and stuff. It was crazy. Anyway, all right. Look at she's so cute. What a cutie. Let's just look at the very beginning. Home to more than 2 million acres of lakes, waterfalls, geysers, and panoramic vistas, the world's first national park has hosted millions of visitors from around the world for 150 years. Yeah, I think Yellowstone was the first national park we had. Yeah, I think, and it was like Grant, I think, who made this national park. And then Roosevelt really enlarged the national parks. Every season brings special wonders. Yeah, that's true. The National Park Service protects this unique resource, which includes 6 national historic landmarks. 6, huh? All right. Oh, here we go. Established in 1872, Congress passed legislation to make Yellowstone the world's first national park. There we go. Land area, 2.2 million acres of forest, grassland, and water. It has a huge lake in the middle. I think it's called Yellowstone Lake. Although 96% of Yellowstone National Park is in Wyoming, small portions of the park also lie in Montana, 3%, and Idaho, 1%. Popular activities: sightseeing, tours, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, cross-country skiing, and horseback riding. Hiking. There are more than 1,000 miles of back-country trails. Roads and facilities take up less than 3% of the park. Some of you know I backpack a bit, but I have never... I don't backpack in basically grizzly bear country. I have a real fear of grizzly bears. So I usually get a cabin if I'm in grizzly country. It's just too scary for me. I can't sleep. I mean, I have tented in grizzly country and I'm not saying I've never done it, but I just wouldn't at this point in my life because I know I'd be up all night long. Black bear country I can handle. But grizzlies, no. And did you know, we talked about this on the bear cam video I've done. that grizzly bears and like the brown bears, the Kodiak bears, I think they're just called brown bear. Anyway, the difference in them, they're the same. I think like genetically they're the same, but grizzlies are inland and the brown bear are marine life eating. They eat marine animals, and that's the difference. Interesting. Popular sites: Yellowstone's geysers and hot springs, Yellowstone Lake, waterfalls, and iconic sites like Gallatin Range, Hayden Valley, and the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone, Morning Glory Pool, and Old Faithful Geyser. Yes. What's new? Civility and free speech. Plan your visit. Well, I'll tell you what, hold on. Let's get the map out real quick. Just so we have it for reference if we need it. Let's go to Wyoming. Let's flip. It's just right here. Okay. Here we go. So we're up here in this corner. Oh yeah, and you can see there is just a tiny bit over here and a tiny bit over here. This is Idaho, Montana, but then this is Wyoming. And I'm trying to think of the trip that my son is talking about, because I've been to Yellowstone. I think 4 times. I think that's right. But I think the trip he's thinking of, we drove out from Baltimore, actually, straight across the country. Hold on. If I'm remembering this correctly, we went across the country and came to Denver, and we went to Red Rocks and all that, and then we spent a couple of nights at Estes Park in Rocky Mountain. And then I think we drove up. No, that's not how we went. We drove this way and probably up this way. And we met my sister in Teton. And we spent 2 nights in the Tetons, I think at one cabin. And then we drove up into Yellowstone and we took the circle and we stayed 2 nights. This is the part I can't quite recall what the name of the different lodges were, but I think it was like Grant, Mammoth Springs. There was another one. I can't recall. And then my sister spent a night at Old Faithful Lodge, but we went up this way and we spent the night like here and then drove back this way, I think, to Baltimore. I think that's how that went. Anyway, all right. So we'll just leave this map in case we want to refer to it. Kind of wish, I don't know. All right. Oh, here's what it costs. Okay. Type, let's see. We just need a pass. So we don't need a senior pass, military. Why did it say senior? Oh, general. Okay, $20, I guess. But I think, I could be wrong, but I think the $20 to Yellowstone gets you into all the national parks that you can get to on like at that day or whatever. Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm reading this wrong. It's $80 for an annual pass. And see, if you're a senior, age 62 or up, you pay $80, and that's good for the rest of your life, I think. Okay, and then no volunteer. I'm a little confused. Is this the one day? What am I reading wrong? I don't know. Anyway, okay, whatever. Here it is, entrance fee. The entrance fee is $35 for a private non-commercial vehicle up to 15 passengers. Okay, so they're going to have 4 people, I think. So they'll be able to get in $35 for all 4. But I think if they go into Teton and then into Yellowstone, I think it covers both. An annual pass for $70. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not anymore a national park pass. Entrance fees are waived if you have an annual or lifetime national park pass. Okay. All right. Visitor centers and ranger stations. Altitude. Most areas that people visit in the park are above 7,500 feet. Take time to acclimate. I don't recall having trouble ever acclimating in Yellowstone, but we were driving from, when you drive, you kind of do it slow. I do remember people getting sick in Denver when they flew in. Actually, I wasn't even at that family reunion. I heard about a family reunion where they all flew in and a lot of people got sick. I've been lucky. I've never had that issue, I don't think. Here are all the museums. What do we have? Albright Visitor Center, Old Faithful Visitor Center, Canyon, Grant Village, Fishing Bridge, North Geyser. Where are the places you stay? Let's see. What does this say? Mountains, rivers, radios, the rest is history. Look how fun. I love Out West. It's so fun. There's a guy backpacking. A bald eagle. If you want to learn about bald eagles and why they almost went extinct, I have a video about it. It's interesting. The lodging and dining. So, this whole area, all of this is National Park. This is the Shoshone, as I said, National Forest. All this green, this is Bridger Teton National Forest. Goes all the way down here. And then Wind River. What is this called? Anyway. And so anywhere on a map where you see like green like that, those are national forest and things like that, or grasslands or whatever. They're protected basically. Sorry, hold on. And the reason they had to do that in Yellowstone, I know this because I go to all the in the evening, a lot of times when you're at the campgrounds, they have ranger talks, which is so cool. They light a big fire and you sit around and the ranger comes and just talks to you about different subjects. But they were talking about Yellowstone Park at one of them, I think. And they said that basically businesses were like, this is the only place in the country that has all this geothermal action going on, because it is actually on the Yellowstone Calder, I think it's called. It's like volcanic. And so that's why there are geysers, which are, they come out of the ground, they spew hot water. It has hot springs. It has sulfur-rich hot springs. They stink like rotten eggs. And then it is teeming with wildlife. And so these businessmen were like, well, we need to put a railroad right through it. And then we need to put some hotels up around that Old Faithful, because it goes off every hour on the hour or something like that. It's not quite right, and we'll put all these hotels around there, and Mammoth Hot Springs kind of far out, so we'll just hotel all that up. And then they were gonna like mine it for things, kill all the animals, because I'm going to do a video on the buffalo out west, because I find that super interesting. But basically the buffalo were becoming extinct because of overhunting. And that's when Ulysses S. Grant was like, whoa, we got to do something. It used to be the only reason the government would own land was if it could be mined or used for a purpose that, furthers the government. But when Grant heard what was going on, because there was an explorer who had taken all these photos and showed the beauty, he was like, that is something the people should get to see, forever. Like, we can't let it become commercialized. So that's when, in the 1800s, they made it a national park. And after that, Roosevelt started going out, and he was a hunter and everything, and he made a lot more of the national parks. So there you go. Kind of interesting. But thank goodness they did that, because it would have t-shirt shops and fudge shops. As soon as you leave Yellowstone, there's all that kind of stuff, the t-shirts and fudge and what you see everywhere. And you're like, oh my gosh, thank goodness it's a national park. But that's something I think we start to take for granted, because it's always been that way. But it's awfully nice to have it. Roosevelt Lodge cabins. Yeah. We stayed there. Canyon Lodge. This is the part I can't quite remember which ones. Old Faithful Lodge, Old Faithful Inn, Mammoth Hot Springs. I liked that hotel a lot. I thought that was a really cool place. Grant Village. Park regulations. Sorry. Ooh, technical climbing. Not well suited for climbing. Geysers and scalding water. Oh my gosh. All thermal pools are near or above boiling temperature. Venturing off marked trails or boardwalks is hazardous and prohibited. The thin crust around the thermal features may suddenly break. So, when we were there, let's see if they have a picture of a thermal pool in here. My sister and I were on a trail, and this elderly lady walked out onto the crust and got right next to it and pulled her sleeves up, and she was putting the hot water in her hands. So I'm sure someone had told her that water would fix her arthritis or something. And she didn't speak English. And we're like, be careful, because it's like a thin crust, so that could break. Also, they have signs all over, do not cross this line, whatever. But what are we going to do? We couldn't run out there and get her. We were kind of out on the trail, so we're just like, okay, see you later. Oh, look, here's a grizzly bear and a black bear. Male grizzlies weigh 500 pounds on average. Male black bears weigh between 210 and 315. The grizzly has a distinct shoulder hump that is actually muscle mass. I mean, can you imagine? He's like ripping things over. Black bears lack the grizzly's hump, and their rumps are higher than their front shoulder. Grizzly claws are long, between 2 and 4 inches. Hold on a minute. Let's see here. What are we talking about? Oh my god. 4 inches. Oops. What is happening? What is that? Yeah. So, just his claw part is that long. Oh my god. If that big of a claw came at you and went, it would go all the way through your hand and be able to shish kebab to other things too. Black bear claws are less than 2 inches. Still dangerous. Grizzlies have a concave profile with a depression between the eyes and the end of the snout. Okay. Ears are round and proportionately small. That's where they get you. See those cute little round ears? That makes you go, oh, they're so cute. Black bears have a straight facial profile with a relatively long muzzle. Ears are long and pointed and prominent. That's when they're out in the woods. Sometimes you can kind of tell. Well, these guys just look darker too. But their face is almost more like a dog, Theirs is more like pushed in. Life expectancy 15 to 20 years in the wild, more than 30 years in captivity. Yeah, but I'd take 15 to 20 wild over 30 in captivity. Same with the black bear. Behavior, usually more aggressive than black bears. Females will aggressively protect cubs. Yeah, so in the spring when they have their cubs, you have to be super, super careful. But really, their cubs, they stick with them for like 3 years, so they'll be protective anytime like that. Day beds in dense vegetation are used to rest and escape the summer heat. Mostly active during dusk and dawn, although can be active any time of day. Strength is exceptional. They routinely roll huge rocks and logs looking for food. Oh my gosh, that sentence I couldn't speak. Powerful digging abilities allows them to feed on roots, bulbs, and rodents. Dig dens and steep mountain slopes. I think that's part of why they are so strong, because they do a lot of digging in the ground. The black bears are excellent tree climbers. Which is funny because when I was a kid, I remember being told, like, if a bear chases you, climb a tree. They can't climb trees. And then when I was like, I don't know, 11 or something, we went to a wildlife park kind of place with my family. And there were, it wasn't like a zoo because it was way more open and the animals were all out. I don't know what exactly it was. But the black bears, just for fun, would climb the tree and hang out up there and then climb back down, then climb up. We were like, I think that bear can climb a tree. And that is when I stopped believing that. All right. There he is. Oh, this place, I've been here. Grizzly and Wolf Discovery Center. This is outside of the park. And if it's a place I'm thinking of, they're all like bears that have been, I don't know, injured or have been too, like if people feed bears, they become too reliant on humans. And then they're kind of dangerous because they show up at campgrounds and stuff. So I think they take those bears sometimes. And I have a story, but I'm afraid to tell it because, all right, I'm going to tell it. If you don't want to hear a death and dying story, skip like, a minute or so. When we went there, my husband, I guess it was with my sister, but it was right as we were pulling into Teton. So we went to Teton first, and all these news reports came out of a grizzly bear who had, I forget how many people she ate, but it was a couple or more. And also the cubs ate the people. And they were camping on this side of the park, I'm pretty sure, because it was a campsite I'd stayed at before, right outside of the park. And they ended up, I think, shooting the mama bear. But the baby bears, because I think they brought them here, I think. And then when we went back to Yellowstone for a family reunion, we went here, and that's when we heard that story that they were now there. We're like, oh my gosh, we remember that. Anyway. Okay. Let's see, what else do they say here? That's Buffalo Bill. W.F. Cody, Buffalo Bill. After Yellowstone National Park, come to Cody, Wyoming to see the most famous buffalo of all. Yep. Oh my God, there's one of these. I think it's in Canyon where they had, now mind you, this is back when I had 3 little boys. Not too little, they're probably 10. I'm saying 10 like in that area. And there was a restaurant that was part of the national park where they charged you for food by the size of the plate. So you could get a small plate or a big plate. And it wasn't, I don't know what it cost, but let's pretend like it was $12 and $16 or something. So that if you times that by 5, it became like a lot. So I got like one plate, and I'm like, okay, everybody tell me what you want. And everybody goes, and I remember I was like, all right, fried chicken. I'm like trying to put all the macaroni and cheese on the bottom. I'm layering things up and making it was like this tall. And I had been a waitress, so I was well prepared. I'm like, okay, I made it. That was funny. And then we got back to table, and I'm like feeling kind of guilty, but I mean, they're the ones selling it by the plate, so I don't know. And so we're all like, yeah, that's what you do. Most of the time we fill our cooler and just make sandwiches and stuff. Okay. Feeding wildlife is strictly prohibited. People do it all the time. Do not tease, crowd, or frighten animals. People do it all the time. Startled animals may charge. Bison can sprint 37 miles per hour. Yeah. Stay at least 25 yards from most animals and 100 yards from bears and wolves. Yep, no problem. I don't know yet if I've still told you. That was a weird sentence. But if I've told you about the moose story, but I will tell you, we were camping right here one time, and there was a moose incident. But I'll save that for another day. All right, what else do we have? I wish there were more pictures. Historic tribes, and they have a picture of them. Some of them. Tribal oral histories indicate extensive use of Yellowstone area during the Little Ice Age. Oh, that's interesting. Kiowa stories place their ancestors here from Common Era 1400 to 1700. Ancestors to contemporary Blackfeet, Cayuse, Coeur d'Alene, Bannock, Nez Perce, Shoshone, and Umatilla, and I probably said a lot of those wrong, and other tribes continued to travel the park on the already established trails. They visited geysers, conducted ceremonies, hunted, gathered plants and minerals, and engaged in trade. Some tribes used the fishing bridge as a rendezvous site. The Crow occupied the country generally east of the park. The Crow is another tribe, if you're not familiar. And the Blackfeet occupied the country to the north. The Shoshone, Bannock, and other tribes of the plateaus to the west traversed the park area annually to hunt on the plains to the east. In the early 1700s, some tribes in the region began to acquire horses. Some historians believe the horse fundamentally changed lifestyles because tribes could now travel farther and faster to hunt bison and other animals of the plains. The horse, however, does not seem to have changed the tribe's traditional use of the Yellowstone area. Yeah, let's see if they have the wildlife at the park, because I wish I had a water. I feel like I got a cough. I don't want to cough. Okay, Linda, get it together. I still have this cold. It's ridiculous. I think I'm on day 7. But, I mean, I don't feel sick. It's just like the lingering cough. Hold on. The cough, I won't have it for 3 hours, but then it'll start, and it's like you cannot stop once it starts. All right. Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out what to tell my son about where we stayed. I'm not. Oh, this goes up. Okay. Oh, here we go. All right, we stayed, I think, 2 nights at Grant Village, 2 nights at Canyon Village, 2 nights at Mammoth Hot Spring, and then we just drove down to Old Faithful for the day, and then drove up and out and stayed outside the park. And we stayed at Teton beforehand, so that's why I think I can give him that report. Grant Village, when we were there, what do you want, like cabins? They were like A-frame from the 1960s. And for me, that was really cool. It was like nothing had changed since the 60s. I thought it was cool, but my sister didn't like it. Canyon Village was like a log cabin kind of thing, if I recall. And the only problem was, one really big problem, but to go to the bathroom, it was a shared bathroom, and so you'd have to leave your cabin and walk to the bathroom. And there was a grizzly bear who had been seen quite a bit in the area. And so we were all a little freaky because, you don't want your little kid to get grabbed up by a grizzly bear. So I was like, if anybody has to go to the bathroom, wake me up. We're not going alone. So we'd all have to go in groups to the bathroom. But it was fun. I mean, it's memory, And then Mammoth Hot Spring was a hotel. Not a hotel, but yeah, I mean, kind of. So there were all the rooms, and it was all painted white, and there was a shared hall bathroom, but the rooms had like the like really nice windows, and it was probably from the 40s, 20s, I don't know. It was old, and it had transom windows above the door, so you open that up and you'd get a little breeze. I really liked it there. And as it turned out, my son got some kind of stomach sick, so him and I spent the entire day at that lodge and basically in the room because, I couldn't leave him alone. He was a kid. And I liked it. I had a nice day that day. Everybody felt sorry for me because I couldn't go do everything. But you know how you're like kind of tired, and it's just, he was sleeping, and I was just sitting there going, this is nice. I like it. Anyway, okay. Unwind. Prevagen. I think this is snake oil garbage stuff. Don't buy that. I don't even. Yeah. Fire, a natural process. Yeah. There was a big fire there in the late 80s. And my husband and I were dating, I think. We drove out to Yellowstone. And so it was pretty soon after. And I mean, there was the section of the park. I feel like it was here, but I'm not sure. And it was just toast, it was just black. It looked like out of Walking Dead or something. And I was like, oh, that's so sad. Oh, and when we went, we got up really early in the morning, so there was fog, and then it was all just black stumps of trees and black on the ground, and a giant buck elk, like this guy, a huge one, came walking out, and he stood right in front of our car, and he kind of looked at us, and we were like, wow, it's magic. Yeah, it was cool. Oh yeah, in 1988, the park experienced the greatest ecological event in the history of national parks. With raw, unbridled power, several fires raged in and around the park, affecting an area of 793,000 acres. The extent of the 1988 fires focused worldwide attention on Yellowstone. Yep. The other thing that was going on when we were there in the 90s was they had petitions out to re-wolf the park, because wolves used to be all in the park and then they were all killed because there's a lot of farms right outside the park, and the farmers felt like, probably rightfully so, that the wolves were eating their baby cattle and stuff, and so they shot the wolves. But they were trying to bring them back to the park, and I remember a lady came up and she's like, will you sign to bring the wolves back? And I was like, sure. I don't know. I don't know. Okay. So I think I did sign the petition. But They have reintroduced them. They flourished and are now over 300 of their descendants are living in the Yellowstone. So in 1990s, they put them back in. Yep. I think they're good for the ecosystem. Fishing, boating, wildlife watching. Let's see. Early morning and evening. Yeah, but really any time of day. In summer, I may have to switch to a whisper because I don't know if I can keep talking. Okay. Let's see. In summer, bears, bison, and coyotes are often seen in Aden Valley. Mule deer. Mule deer are cute because they have great big ears. Elk wander through the meadows. Bighorn sheep. Beavers, weasels, foxes, marmots. Wolf watching. I've never seen a wolf in the wild, I don't think. I did this. It was fun. Sorry, sights to see: Grand Prismatic Spring, Yellowstone's largest hot spring at 370 feet in diameter, can be accessed by taking the Midway Geyser Basin Boardwalk. The deep blue color of the pool and the rings of yellow and orange thermopiles surrounding it. Hayden Valley, Mammoth Hot Spring, Morning Glory Pool, Norris and Firehole River Geyser Basins, Petrified Forest, Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone, West Thumb Geyser Basin, and Yellowstone Lake. Look, here's a bison standing in front of a geyser going on. Camping. So you can camp for $20 a night, depending on where you are. But you do have to reserve, like, campgrounds or lodges like a year in advance sometimes. They really book up way out. Oh, look, here are the pictures. Okay, we've got bison, elk, osprey, moose. I love moose. River otter. I love that river otter. Trumpeter swan. That's it. There's a lot more than that. They're talking about if you see a bear. A bear may bluff charge and stop short of touching you. If possible, stay until the bear calms down. Can you imagine if you're standing there and a grizzly bear decides to go and they pretend like they're going to come at you and you have to just stand there and be like, it's cool, bear, it's cool. Good luck with that. Walking and hiking. Photography. Capture the golden hour magic. Embrace reflections. Seek out abstract patterns. Play with silhouettes. Extend your exposure. Focus on detail. Experiment with creative angles. Tell a story. If you only have a day, that's not much time at Yellowstone. Like I said, I spent a full week in Yellowstone and could have stayed longer. But we hike a lot. If you only have a day, they're saying you can take a tour. I wouldn't do that. You don't need to do that. But look how pretty. the sky. That looks fun. Kind of loud. Problem with these are they're so loud. It's like, shut up. You're out hiking. They don't call it the great indoors. Well, there we go. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Yellowstone National Park. Past Yellowstone Lake and stop in Lake Village for a couple of a picnic, go to the museum. You could take the fishing bridge hike, go past Hayden Valley to Canyon Village, and either camp or get a cabin. And there's a store where you can buy supplies to make your dinner, get some hot dogs to cook on over the fire. And then you can go back here and hike for the day, and then spend the night again, and then keep going up. And around here is where there's lots of buffalo and wildlife. So much in this area, I think. And you can visit Roosevelt Lodge, have some lunch, and then keep driving up to Mammoth Hot Spring. And there you're going to see lots of elk, so many elk. And there's a really nice nature center there. And there's some hikes you can take from there that are nice. And then you can drive from there down past Indian Creek. Go to Norris Geyser and see that. And then you can drive down to this lower geyser basin where you'll see so many geysers, Firehole Lake, and then go to Old Faithful, which is the most crowded area in the whole park. Lots of tourists just go here, but it's still worth going to. And you can take the trail and watch Old Faithful. And there are lots of hot springs in that area. Lone Star Geyser. When we were there was another geyser that went off that hadn't gone off in like 70